Hello, Political Science 1100. This is Professor Jackson coming to you. What we're doing today is I have been off and on Big Blue Button all morning long, and I have not been able to log on properly. I keep getting booted, so rather than make everyone wait for me at 8 o'clock to try to get in and go through some stress, I'm just going to record the class today and then also open myself up for office hours all afternoon for phone. You can give me a call on my phone number. We can FaceTime. We can set up a Zoom, whatever you're most comfortable with. But I'll be available this afternoon. Okay. So let's real quick get going. I'm going to give you some background of what we're going to cover. I've decided that on Tuesday I have to miss class, so there will not be class Tuesday. But instead of just totally take the day off and then test you Thursday, which wouldn't be fair to test you on chapter 5 when we haven't covered in class, we're going to go ahead and move the test to just chapters 1 through 4, and you will take the test on Tuesday. Now, the test is a take home, open note, open book, open everything but friends. Okay. You can even use the internet. You just can't copy things down word for word. Okay. So now the reason I do that is that it is fairly time pressed, right? You only have a total of an hour to take the entire test, okay? So if you log on and once you open that test, you have 60 minutes, no more. I can't open it up. Once you hit 60 minutes, bam, you're done, okay? So don't start it unless you know you can finish it, okay? Otherwise you won't be able to, okay? So there is 60 questions. It's worth 100 points, 60 questions. Um, 60 minutes to do it. Um, One thing is to do as far as resources go. Let me show you. If you go to modules or home, let me just show you kind of what you have to look at. You have your chapter 1 PowerPoint, for instance. Okay, so here you go. You have your chapter 1 PowerPoint, your chapter 2 PowerPoint, all of those, as well as if you'll take a look at chapter 2 reading quiz. All of the reading quizzes have that, but I'm going to make it possible for you to go back in and look at all of your past quizzes, right? Okay, so you can look at your past quizzes, see the questions that you missed and what the correct answers are. So I'm making that possible for all of you to do that, um, just because I'm such a great guy. That's why. If you didn't notice, I'm actually outside, trying to stay away from any sort of loud kids or babies. I'm at home today, just in case you were wondering. Okay, so that's the test. I'm sure you have more questions. Please email me. Please message me any questions you have. Okay, but all of the test questions come from the same bank that the quiz questions came from. So I can't guarantee that you have seen the test questions before, but there is a good chance that you've seen a lot of the test questions before on quizzes, okay? Especially if you've taken them 2 or 3 times. So I want you to be aware of that. Don't stress over too much about this quiz or this test. I make it so these tests they don't count for a lot of points against you, because I'm not a big fan of tests. I just do them because I kind of have to. I'm kind of required to. So that's that, okay? So again, that's chapters 1 through 4, Tuesday morning. You can start as early as 8 o'clock, and you have until midnight to take it, but you have to take it that day. You have to take it Tuesday. If for some reason that's not going to work because of something, contact me right away. I can't promise anything, but I'll do my best to try to accommodate you, okay? So if there's any questions, any concerns, please contact me right away, okay? All right, let's go ahead and get on to the chapter real quick. So we're talking about civil rights and civil liberties. So basically the way we have to understand a civil right and a civil liberty is a civil right is guaranteed to the people, okay? The people as a whole. Civil liberties are liberties that are guaranteed to the individual. So one of the things I like to talk about is gun rights right here, right? So for a long time, a lot of people considered gun rights to be a civil right, meaning it was given to the people as a whole, like to militias, things like that. But the Supreme Court recently ruled in Heller that it is actually a civil liberty. It is a right that is guaranteed to an individual. Same as the right to the freedom of speech, that is a civil liberty. You as an individual are guaranteed the right to freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Most of the Bill of Rights have to do with civil liberties. The civil rights usually have to do with like voting, non-discrimination, things like that. A lot of the Black Lives Matter thing and the systemic racism right now going on is more of a protection of civil rights and civil liberties. All right, so we have to, government has to empower people, but we have to understand that there is some limit. Is that we have to know that there has to be a limited government. We can't have an all-powerful government. That's a problem, right? We want the people to have the majority of the power. Okay, um, citizens have special protections and powers that allow them to stand up to government and plead their cases, like the right to petition, the right to speak, the right to assemble peacefully, right? Those were all rights that we have that protect us against an unfair democracy. Now, whenever two rights conflict, we kind of have to decide which is the most important, right? So think about it. Think about some of the rights that we have. The right to bear arms, the right to our life, right? Those are both two very important rights that we feel that the government should protect us from, right? But sometimes they come into conflict. So we have to say, okay, what is more important, the Second Amendment or people's lives? Well, it's not quite that easy, right? Because every time someone has a gun, doesn't mean every time someone's going to get shot, or else they probably would say that the life is more important than the Second Amendment. But some people still say, no, just the amount of deaths is more important than people having guns in the Second Amendment, right? And so, that's just an example. Sometimes the right to speak gets in the way of the right of religion. What is more important? Is it someone's right to believe in a faith of their own, or is it more important for them to be able to, for someone else to be able to speak their mind and maybe offend them, right? Protection of some very specific rights is contained in the text. The main one is habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is the most important fundamental criminal right that we have. Is that we have the right, if we get accused of a crime, to go before a judge and say, why am I here? That's pretty important, right? We want to know, why are we here? Why are we being detained? This isn't fair. Okay? Bills of attainder mean that you can't get in trouble for there can't be a law specifically targeted at you. So if they said, okay, Scott Jackson, if your name is Scott Jackson, you go to jail. Well, that would be targeting me, right? And that's not cool. So no. An ex post facto is a law that criminalizes an action after it occurs. So if I'm wearing a black hoodie today, because it's cold out here, if I wear a black hoodie today, and then tomorrow President Trump urges Congress to pass a law that will have no black hoodies anymore, they can't arrest me for wearing a black hoodie today. Now, if I wore a black hoodie after it was passed, that would be fine. Well, I mean, theoretically, it's kind of a dumb law, but, Incorporation is the right that the Supreme Court has to move the Bill of Rights to make it applicable to the states. When the Bill of Rights was originally passed, like the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, not to quarter soldiers, they did not apply to the states. But because of selective incorporation, the rights are made applicable to the states on a case-by-case basis. Then we have two sorts of religions, or two sorts of clauses within the freedom of religion. We have the Establishment Clause. That's the government cannot create and support an official state religion. So there's two different camps on this. Well, and there's three. There's one group that just says, screw it, we'll do whatever religion we want. But the two main camps are separationists and accommodationists. Separationists says there should be a distinct wall in between church and state. There should be no sort of mixing. Accommodationists is like, look, as long as we don't get too carried over the top, we're going to be fine. Let's just, as long as we don't make a specific state religion, there can be some cause. And right now, the accommodationists are definitely winning. There's definitely some intermingling between church and state, just not too much, not completely. Then we have the free exercise of religion. Citizens may freely engage in their religious activities of their own choice. What about animal sacrifice, right? What if I wanted to marry a 16-year-old girl because it's part of my religion, right? I'm 35 years old. What if I want to marry a 16-year-old girl? Let's say it's part of my religion. Well, the Supreme Court said, no, that's not quite right. You can't do that. Even if it is part of your religion, even if it is a sincerely held religious belief It does not count if it breaks the law, okay? But in order to overcome that, the federal government has to show a compelling state interest. That means there has to be a fundamental purpose that can show that the law can limit some freedoms or treat some groups of people differently. So if I practice Santeria and I sacrifice chickens and I drink their blood, in order to stop me from doing that, the church or the state government or the federal government has to show a compelling interest to be able to stop me from doing that because it is a religious belief. All right, next we have the freedom of expression. This is the freedom of speech that can help to empower citizens and limit government in 4 ways. Citizens are responsible for participating. They're watchdogs. They have to be careful of censorship. And we also discover truths that were previously held to be false. But really, the freedom of expression is all about us being able to check the government. That's what it should be. It's not just about me saying, being able to call President Trump a jerk. That's not really the First Amendment. I mean, it kind of is, but really the ultimate goal of the First Amendment is for me to watch over the federal government and state government. So there's some roles of speech that criticizes the government. This is sedition. So you can say things like President Trump is a jerk, but I can't say something like, I am on my way to go kill President Trump right now and start a revolution. See, that would be sedition. That would be seditious statements, and that would not be okay. One of the questions that the Supreme Court asks is it a clear and present danger? That is a rule used by the court that allows language to be regulated only if it presents an immediate and urgent danger, okay? And then another is imminent lawless action. That's rule used by the courts that restricts speech only if it is aimed at producing imminent lawless action. So at one point, there was a big riot, and the cops move the rioters off the street. And one guy says, "We're going to take the effing street back," right? And he yells that at him. He was arrested for that because it was determined that he was producing imminent lawless action. Okay, we're going to go to the next slide in just a bit. I'm only allowed to record a certain amount of time on each video, so I'm going to get started on the next one here in just a few moments. It'll be on a separate video clip, okay?